We're going to start off with wins. So, what good is happening in the business? What do we want to celebrate? I know I've had a lot of clients giving me numbers from 2024, which is awesome. Would love to celebrate any growth with you, whether it's profits or revenue. I know I have a lot of clients who are having a busier, slower season than normal. So would love to hear how that's looking for you as well. And then, of course, we'll get straight into the Q&A, which is an opportunity to ask any questions that you have and get advice from not just your coach, which you might be sick of hearing from at this point, but other clients, other coaches, and be able to get perspectives from people who have actually been in your shoes. So without further ado, what wins are happening? It's almost last day of January. How has 2025 been treating you so far? How did 2024 wrap up? Tell me what's happening.
Well, I will tell you honestly, it hasn't been great. I've got a couple of decent sized commercial job bids out there, but neither of them have come to fruition yet. The commercial jobs go through so many different layers, and the people that I deal directly with aren't actually the decision makers. So that's been a little frustrating. And the leads that I have been getting and the jobs that I've been getting are just, $2,000 to $7,000 jobs, which I typically don't take. But so it's been a really, really slow start for me. On a positive note, I've been working with you guys for just this is the first month with you guys. And I hadn't done anything on Google before, and I've got 7 5-star reviews now. So that's good. So hopefully that'll help out.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Love to hear that. And you're absolutely preaching to the choir here. If anybody has ever dealt with commercial, they are so relating to you with what you're dealing with there, where it's like, gosh, dang it. Like, can I just talk to the decision maker? You just feel like you're jumping through so many hoops.
Yeah. I had a job we just finished. It was actually the biggest job I've done. It was a $700,000 commercial job. And when they first came to me, the plan set that they gave to me was 2 years old. So that's how long they had been deciding before I even saw it.
Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of head nods where it's like, yeah, totally relate to that. So hopefully some of these things end up working out for you, Jeff. And as you get more reviews, you are going to get more calls. You will have a mixed bag as you're already experiencing, jobs all over the spectrum. So it's all about sorting. Jordan, did I see you put a win in the chat here? I see you're shifting to performance-based pay, and you're watching your best techs weekly revenue go from 3K to 7K, over doubling.
Holy hell.
That is phenomenal.
Wow.
We always say
that's your sweet bippy.
Yeah, we always say that.
I don't even know what a bippy is, but you can bet on it.
Bet on it. No, we always say that when you implement merit-based pay, it is absolutely going to motivate and excite your A players, and you're going to watch them hit bonuses and goals and love it. And it's going to really piss off your C and D players because they want to just be able to coast. And so love to see that it's having a positive effect for you, Jordan. That's huge.
It's going to make, I think, hiring new technicians a little easier too, because now I have real data I can provide to them to say, hey, this is the potential, or even more, depending on how well you want to do. So
yeah, totally agree. And it might weed out some negative Nancy's, in the beginning who, don't want that pay because they don't think they can hit it, So love to hear that. What other wins do we have going on today? Good things happening.
Our call volume has went up tremendously, which Bryce knows. After we've been back with Redmond now, I think what Bryce, about a month now, maybe a little over a month.
No, just this month. You started on the 6th.
Yeah, we were with Redmond for about a year, and we didn't make a good decision, and we left. And here we are. We're back, and we're excited. Things have flipped for us. Bryce knows in December we were about tanked. In December we were in a bad spot. We came back, we got back to our rocks, and our call volume has turned upside down. Bryce don't know this yet. We've actually landed 2 other smaller commercial jobs over the past week or so with our county's new humane shelter, and then another one with Burlington Coat Factory. So things are looking good for us, and we're really excited right now.
Heck yeah. Joey, love having you back, man. And excited to see you guys are already starting to turn back around really quickly. But yeah, appreciate you.
So we're glad to see it.
I'm sure.
What other wins do we have going on here today, guys? I see a hand. Chris.
We had a fun one. We implemented, I talked last week about the merit-based pay system and stuff. So one of my guys is really grabbing that by the horns and super excited. So he closed his first all-inclusive sales and project management job where he's taking the reins on 100% of it. Well, the funny thing about the job was he actually submitted 3 bids to the same client, and I kind of recommended to him. I was like, there was a $2,000, $3,000, and $11,000, 3 quotes to the same client. And I was like, just go for like the 2 smaller ones. Like maybe we'll do the other one later or something like that. I was like, it's your first, sales gig that you're doing all on your own. Don't try to, get everything. Just, sell the first 2. The other is kind of an option that they kind of ask you to maybe consider, throw it in there if you wanted to, type of thing on the bid. And so I was like, okay, go for the 2 and the 3, and he'd be happy. Well, he set the appointment for a Zoom call for the, talking over the quote or everything. Before the appointment was done, they signed the contract on all 3 bids. And so he closed all 3 before he even had the walkthrough appointment. So he was super stoked about that. And that's actually kicking off today. Should be finished by Saturday with all 3 jobs. So.
Wow.
So, and he gets a merit-based bonus. He's incentivized to finish it in a timely manner. So all that. And so he's they end up with, I don't know, $1,500 bonus or something like that. So he's super excited about that.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And the $1,500 bonus fits in your profitability as well, because you're making more, he makes more. It's that win-win scenario that seems like it's a mystical thing, but that's awesome, Chris. That is awesome. And the multiple options at the bid, also a great strategy.
Huge.
Love all of that. What other wins do we have this morning? Anybody else? All righty. With that said or not said, if you have other wins, we always love to hear them. But we'll go ahead and open it up here. If anybody has any questions, thoughts, things you're considering, curious about, what's going on in the world of you guys, what things are on your mind? Go ahead, Rick. What you got?
Good morning, everybody. My question, we're trying to figure out, do we want to do some kind of GPS tracking system on our vans? Some of the systems are, they'll tell you if the van, how many miles it's got on it, or truck, how many miles, where your last oil change, when it's due, plus it, and then there's a camera system that goes with it. So has anybody had any luck? Do they do that? We done it when we was with a house called Pro. It's going to be, the GPS system is around $19 a month, and then it's about $29 a month for the camera. So we're just trying to explore those options. Is that something as a company we want to do, provide, and to track our guys? We're using Service Titan right now, so they have the option, but it's a lot more expensive. So we would be going with a different company, but we would be able to track our guys.
Yeah, it looks like Fred, you got some input there.
Yes. So I'm currently using a company called ShoreCam. And the reason for me getting it was actually getting into my guys getting into some accidents where we weren't at fault, and we still ended up getting sued for it like we were at fault. So that's what made me get it, and it's the one I have is a forward facing camera, and it also does all the GPS from office side. You can click on it and you look at a map like it's like like Google Maps. It'll show you all your traffic. You can see where everybody's at. When a van's active, you could click on it and you can actually see what the camera is seeing. And it keeps track of trips, all that stuff. So if you want to go back and get a recording of something, you could go back and set some times and it will get the recording. And it's fairly reasonably priced. I can't tell you exactly what it is per truck off the top of my head, but it's reasonably priced and worth me getting.
What was that? What was the name of that company again, Fred?
Sure Cam.
Anybody else have a suggestion on one that they've used? I think Chris, you made some phenomenal points where like those cameras will pay for themselves in a lot of different ways. One, it causes your guys to be a lot more honest. I know I had a client, Arnold's Plumbing, where he caught one of his guys doing like 60 through a neighborhood, and he was like, absolutely not. Are we doing that in neighborhoods, but even if like you do get in an accident, being able to have that proof, being able to make sure your guys aren't texting or doing something they shouldn't in the vans, especially if your guys are taking vans home, having those is so critical, so we can make sure they're not using those vans for things that they shouldn't. And so I think it's definitely worth going. But if anybody has any, I always like, if you're going to look into something, look into 2 or 3 different brands and see which one's going to work best for you. So if we have any other suggestions, slap them in the chat, or if you have any advice, we'd love for you to unmute and tell us. Looks like we've got 2 people in the chat, Rick, saying that Verizon is one that they've looked into or are using. Awesome. Great question. Great advice. Looks like you just got another suggestion in the chat here, Rick. Bouncy. I'm not sure how to pronounce that one.
We also use Bouncy. We don't have any cameras. I don't know if they offer that, but for us, it was a great way to just plug it in, and it tracks speed. It tracks all the stops. For example, we found one of our guys he took the truck home and he was going to the bar after work. And it's like, yes, he's outside of work hours, but there's our truck going to the bar. But it also, it was great for
free advertising.
Yeah, but it shows. It shows when they start a trip, when they stop a trip, what their highest speed was during that trip, highest acceleration. But it plugs into your OBD port, so it's also showing battery life. You can set up maintenance schedules and stuff, which is pretty slick, and it's extremely cheap. I don't remember what it is, but it's if I remember correctly, less than $10 a month per vehicle. And
Chris just said in the chat that he does the same thing in about $7 per month.
Yeah, that's what I would have guessed. Yep.
Yeah,
yep.
That's awesome.
We like it.
It's even saved us. Like we've got notifications for a low battery or low battery voltage, and realized, oh, somebody probably left a light on, so was able to shoot them a message, and they were like, oh yeah, the light was on, thanks, and that way they didn't wake up to a dead van the next morning.
Love that. I think this is great encouragement for anybody who is in Rick's position and considering this, that, it's a worthwhile investment and a pretty minimal investment to make. So love all this feedback. What other questions, thoughts, maybe issues you're running into that we want to kind of discuss here today? Dale Dale just said that he uses Viper Smart Start in House Call Pro for about is what he uses. And
General
then,
consensus looks like yes, it's worth it.
yes, absolutely. Rick, do you have another question?
I actually do. And I really hate, Nicole, you're our coach, so you can punch me later. But, Jordan was talking about the merit-based pay. We're a young company, so we haven't been going. Started the plumbing in May. We're up to 6 plumbers. Started the electrical in 23, June of 23. We've got 5 electricians, 6 plumbers. But the merit-based pay, what scares me, and we've got a couple companies in our local area that they do merit-based pay, and they are known for scalping the clients and just, selling, like we've been to jobs that, after another company, and they're trying to sell them repipes and they just need a small repair. How does the merit-based pay work? And then how do you keep guys from scalping, some old lady who don't know what she's looking at?
Great question. Jordan, what feedback do you got?
Yeah, I would say it comes down to how you train your guys. Because, I train mine to offer options. So it's okay if we always have the mindset of improving everyone's quality of life, but we still have the same mindset of I'm happy to do as much or as little as the customer wants. So providing good options from, hey, if all you want to pay is a service call and send us on our merry way, or all the way up to, I don't know what you mentioned adding, but changing out that service pipe or whatever. I'm not a plumber, I'm an electrician. Providing good options, educating your customers, and allowing them to decide. And hopefully your sales process has built in, creating value for the customer. And so, but really it just boils down to how you train them, because I've worked for companies that are on both sides of that. I've worked for companies that do performance-based pay really well, and I believe that there was probably not much better way of doing it. And I've worked for companies that do the performance-based pay and it doesn't work that well. And the only other thing I would add is I'm personally not a fan of, I don't know if you've heard of SPIF programs, but I'm personally not a fan of those, because most SPIF programs have incentive to sell specific items, and it kind of makes guys feel like they have to push certain things on customers, when really they should just be walking in, listening to the customer, figuring out both their wants and needs. And if they're actually listening, they'll tell you. And so you don't build options on anything you don't talk about with them, and then when you actually go to present, like you've already set that expectation with them, they still get to decide, and they feel they have control over, what they're spending, and you've done your job. So I said training. It's all about the training. As far as the type of pay, I like percentage-based, performance-based pays, because it incentivizes them to actually listen to what the customer wants, and they're not getting penalized if they didn't sell something that, is on a predetermined list, And I worked for a company that did it that way, and didn't matter how much they spent, customers were always happy. We always got great reviews from them.
Yep.
Great advice, Jordan.
Yep. And I would only echo and further emphasize as well, it is how you train your guys. If you have the culture in your business that is like you're talking about, one, just being mindful of that is going to kind of safeguard that a little bit, because it is who you are. And then if it starts to happen and it becomes a pattern, nip it in the bud with the first opportunity. And that also sets the tone as well. But yeah, how you train your guys, how you set the expectation. And then offering options, but making a recommendation is still a part of that. And it's in the customer's court to decide what they truly want to go with. But the home safety inspection checklist is not meant to be some sort of a fear mongering thing, rather just like a look at the whole system that then gives opportunities, again, that the customer can choose to decline. There's no obligation, but they see it all.
Can I add one more thing?
Yeah.
So they say here all the time, you know, you've found the right price whenever your customer complains about the price but still buys. And what I will say is, even though we actually use a standardized price book as well, so that, you know, when they're pricing things out, the customer's not going to get a wildly different price from one guy to the next guy if they get a different one out. But the feedback we're getting from customers is all really good, positive feedback, even with the changes that we made. So, but again, it comes down to how you train.
Yeah. Bryce, I was so glad that you added what you did, because I was like itching to say that, but Rick's my client and Laura here in the chat's also my client. So I want, you know, somebody else to say it, but you do set your tone. You are the owner of the company. You're the one hiring this team. You're the one who's looking at their KPIs. You're going to know if somebody's doing something they shouldn't, and you're going to be able to nip that in the butt, and you're going to set that tone. And so just setting expectations with the team is huge. But yeah, and merit-based pay can be done so many different ways, guys. So if you're ever like wondering, how should I set that up for my company, or I'm not a service company, how can I do that for my remodeling company? Talk to your coach. Merit-based pay is applicable across the board. Any other questions or feedback on that before we move on? I see Dale Eads here put a question in the chat.
It looks like, I think it's Maria, that said, also a good point about it starting in the hiring process. Who you bring on board, you can tell when you've got some guys that are going to be, kind of those fear mongers or that sort of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. You can definitely sense it. So Dale actually texted me about this yesterday. So I'm going to give a little bit of context, and would love to get people's feedback of what they have maybe done in this position or would do in this position. So he owns Arnold's Plumbing, which is obviously a plumbing company. That's all they do is plumbing. But they want to expand into HVAC. So they had one of their team members who would most easily qualify to be able to get their mechanical license. They paid for his testing, his license, a class. I think he even bought him a laptop to be able to do these things. So really invested into this employee so that he could get that HVAC license, so that then the company could provide HVAC. Yesterday, this employee comes to him and says, "Hey, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm afraid of the liability. I don't want to have that responsibility." And so Dale's he's wondering, how could I maybe make this guy comfortable where he continues? 2, should this guy reimburse me for all the investment I just made into him that now he's backing out on? I already see some people getting in the chat asking questions. Love to see it. Does anybody want to raise a hand or unmute and kind of give what maybe you've done in that situation? Jim.
So I, beside the company I signed up with you, I own another company that's been around for 20 years, and we're out of Chicago, and everybody has to be licensed. So I've owned plumbing companies, and that's a whole nother animal. But in the state of Illinois, you can't be a plumber and just go and operate. You have to have a state license to operate along with a plumbing license. We own a property inspection company, and to do property inspections, commercial, residential in Chicago or Illinois, you have to be licensed. We've had guys come here and play games. I could tell you this because I've got friends, Four Seasons Heating and Cooling. If you Google them, they're a $1 billion company out of Chicago, and same nonsense that I've heard. If a guy's doing that, my opinion, first of all, you should have had a contract with them. saying that all the stuff that you worked with him on, all the licensing, that he owes you that money, because now that guy can go open up his own shop and stick it to you, in my opinion. The other thing is, if he's coming to you like that, that guy's a piece of you know what, and send him packing and recalibrate and fix that right away, because I think that's a house on fire.
I really like, Jim, your advice on setting expectations in the beginning. Obviously, we can't go back and do that now, but in the future, absolutely having some type of agreement, setting expectations of, hey, if you are to leave this company, you have to reimburse us, or if you leave within a certain amount of even time, like not saying you have to work with us forever, but you got to work for us for blank amount of time with this license before you'll have to reimburse us. I think setting expectations is huge. It also looks like Laura did some research. She's in California, not in Oklahoma, but she's got a beautiful mind, that lady. She'll figure anything out. But looks like there might be a way around it where they could transfer the license. And so that might be an option. Would love to hear anybody's opinion on kind of like, should he have to reimburse if he's going to back out? I'd love to kind of get somebody's opinion on how they think that, or if they've done that in the past.
I can tell you right now, I played that game and got burned. So we've brought on apprentices that were not licensed with the state of Illinois, and I played the game with them, took them out. They schooled them, got them ready to go, paid for the licensing, the school, the whole 9 yards, paid them to go. And then no contract, and off they went. They decided they wanted to open their own company, which, I'll be honest with you, it's like pushing a 1 million pound rock up a hill when you're dealing with, like, my company does 4,000 inspectors a year. We're gonna crush you. We can do it easily. But in this case, I learned right away, no contract, no paperwork, nothing to hold up. We even have a non-compete on all of our inspectors. We've caught inspectors stealing, basically meeting a client, say they don't buy the house. They go and contact the client and try to work it offline. With that non-compete, I have literally sued them. And they've gotten fractions on their license in the state of Illinois to a point. So at the end of the day, document. If you didn't document, I don't know about transferring in the state. In Illinois, you cannot transfer a license. So if I have a plumbing license, my license PL 14988 in city of Chicago and state of Illinois, non-transferable. So I don't know in your state, in the other states, if they allow that. That'd be something that somebody could speak about.
Yeah, I think that's great advice. I think setting expectations in the beginning is all we could do, maybe moving forward. And then, I know you, Dale, and I know this situation, and I know that this employee is actually a really good employee. He just gets really, really nervous about specific things, and we've seen him get gun shy on other things. And so I think just sitting him down and talking to him and trying to put him at ease, he's worked for you for a long time. You've been extremely good to him. So he needs, he should feel confident that if something were to happen that would make him liable, you're going to stand by him and do right. And so I think that would be my first suggestion, is let's sit down with him and see if we can talk him down. And then let's get something in writing to even build his confidence more of, like, how would we handle this situation? And so I would say let's salvage that. And then if all else fails, you or your son getting that license so that it's absolutely going to stay with the company forever. We don't have to mess with it or worry about it. But yeah. And then I think trying to get him to reimburse you after the fact is probably pretty tough. For the laptop you bought him, I definitely think he should reimburse you for that. But it still would be, that's kind of a hard conversation.
Yeah. And if that's the case too, he might be balking at the idea of repaying all of that all at once. And then an alternative could be working out some arrangement where it's coming in a weekly dosage out of his check. Because I agree, there is some need for compensation on that. it was agreed upon beforehand, and just because he's a little nervous to actually go out and do it. Maybe long term we can come back around and he will end up doing that at some point in the future, especially if somebody else in the company can also be there that knows kind of what they're talking about, having a buddy on the project or the job. But that's going to be more money and more time for you down the road. So we're not banking on that. In the meantime, I would, try to work out something that gets a smaller dosage.
Yeah. I'm sorry, I've got to interrupt. Jordan, I don't know if you just popped on here, sir, but it looks like you might be in your new office / warehouse that you guys purchased. Is that the case? Are you in?
Yeah, I am.
That is so exciting. That's a huge win. Congratulations, sir.
Yeah. Last week, I shared that we were up 89% in revenue. And we actually put in a ton of, sorry, I'm echoing because there's another computer here, but I put in a ton of invoices and payments and stuff. We're actually up like 780%.
Sure.
Well, we start new building or office space and up in
Right.
revenue. That's huge, Jordan.
But
Stacey,
nightmare after nightmare today. That's all.
Well, congrats, guys. Stacy, I see you in the chat here. So exciting to see you guys in your new space and how this year is set to be. You guys are such diligent doers. I'm just so excited for you guys. I think, Rick, did I see your hand up for a second there? Did you have a question, comment?
Well, I was just commenting on the license for the HVAC and stuff. I think with us, whoever holds the license is the license holder for the company, and it's by the name. But if our company was there, we are liable for everything. I don't know that it falls on to the individual plumber or electrician or HVAC guy. I think that our liability insurance would be the one that takes the load if any damage or anything is done. So I don't know where he was worried about liability, but our insurance would cover anything that our guys do. So I don't know if that helps or not.
Yeah, I think that's in line with what Jordan was saying too. Is the liability he's expressing his fear about it, or is it more legitimate, more concrete? But
And maybe if he could be added as even specifically named as an additional insured or something under the policy, maybe that would give him the confidence that he needs and maybe settle down some of those fears as maybe just an option as well. Having him specifically named.
yes. Any other thoughts on that before we open up for another question? Any other questions people got this morning? Or comments?
Jim, I see your hand up. Do you have a question or comment? Or?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're getting ready to onboard a new construction manager to run some projects for us. When we put our proposal letter to the client or to the new employee, we're structuring a bonus plan off of KPIs, and what our model is super different than we're building a McDonald's program, basically fast food, quick, easy, affordable kitchens, baths, all this, which we've had tons of meetings this whole week with some of the largest answer makers or question makers for people in real estate in Chicago. The question I have is with the bonus structure with the KPIs. I ran it through DeepSeek already, and DeepSeek is already telling me, because I'm a massive IT guy, so I love all this stuff. it's already gave me algorithm on what to pay, not to pay. Wanted to hear what other folks are doing. Basically, what it came up with, the base salary for a CM, new CM that we don't know what he could do, is the ability to make 60,000 with not including the health insurance. Health insurance obviously is more, company truck, gas card, the rest of it. And we're going to offer, the way the algorithm said, obviously if he can run 2 jobs, he's worth this much. If he can run 3 jobs, he's worth this much, because my profit margin is higher because he's running 3 projects at the same time. And then obviously the KPIs were reviews, quality of work, and making sure the time was done. It was done on time, and making sure that it was under the estimate that we quoted, so that we can make a profit on it. I just want to hear back from anybody else that's in, my realm as a general contractor. Maybe they do it on strictly sales for plumbing, electric, or whatever else they're doing.
So sorry, Jim, could you reframe your question there at the end? What are you asking exactly? Just what?
I'm asking on your bonus structure. Are you doing it quarterly, monthly, annually, for a bonus structure on the projects that your people are doing? Obviously, if you're doing a plumbing job, an electrical job, it most likely is a lot quicker than I was knocking out a bathroom or a kitchen.
Gotcha.
It's a long question. I apologize.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if you were asking if there were more incentives, different things you wanted suggestions on, but it sounds like you wanted to know kind of regularity of the payout. Is that right?
The payout and the structure of the payout. So the way DeepSeek and ChatGPT does them, it's a little different. It builds in. It looks like what it builds in is like a 5%, but the problem is that the way we structure, we have salespeople. So the salespeople do the sale of it, and they also PM the project. But the CM is the guy that runs the project. The salesperson gets 3% commission on the whole project. So let's just call it 25,000. He gets 3% of that. That's done after the project closes. Usually our ROI on it is 33%. We're distributors for cabinet manufacturers and plumbing fixtures, and so we buy at wholesale versus retail. So it's deep discount. And the profit margin is roughly around 38%. So I do have room. So on a $25,000 project, we're making about 12 grand. So we have the ability to offer that. I want to incentivize the CM to move faster and be able to run more projects, so that I don't have to keep onboarding and bringing more people to. So the same sales guy, our goal is for him to sell 50 projects a year like that, or 100 really, but I'm not going to be greedy. But I want to be able to do that, but I want to make sure that I don't burn out a CM. And if I do, I want to make sure that he's being paid for being burned out. There should be a core value for that. That's where I know it's a long question. It's very cryptic, so I apologize.
Well, would love if anybody has a project manager or a salesperson that they currently have on some type of commission or merit-based pay structure, kind of what that looks like. Love for you to unmute, put it in the chat. I see a lot of my service guys here today, but I don't see a ton of my GCs, or I'd be calling on people.
Hey, so I do I give my project manager, he gets 5% of whatever profits made on the jobs he bids. Is what I do.
5% on profit.
Didn't you have a question in terms of the timing of when you give that? Was that part of your question? So I can't speak fully on this. I know what I would do if we had larger projects. I would find a way that gives them that incentive as soon as possible, but something that's reasonable. Because if someone has a poor month and you do it quarterly, it's kind of twofold to me. You're not going to know that as quickly if you only do it quarterly. But also for the individual, they may feel like they may get in a rut longer because they don't, it's almost like a reset. As soon as you get the the incentive, you have like this mental reset that that happens. And so I would find a way to do it as quick as you can, but still be reasonable.
The reasoning why I like the 1 year, and I do a 1 year for my sales team. So there's another bonus structure that if they hit 1 million, they get this. If you hit 5 million, you make 125 grand. So that's our goal, that our sales team is hitting that. So it's 125,000 one-time payout. So the reasoning behind it, and I'll be honest, I got a homework assignment from Nicole to read Profit First. My background is I'm a trader, but I'm a dumb trader. So I don't know. Obviously, I don't know how to make money. So I had to read Profit First, and I got a lifelong education. And it was the 5 envelopes. And when I started thinking about it, the way I explained it to my sales team, why I do it this way, is because nobody saves it. If I give this guy $1,000 a month bonus, he's going to blow it. And if he has it at the end of the year and I drop 12K on him, that's life changing to most people. So he has the ability to do something bigger, invest it, whatever he wants to do. That's why I thought that way. But I see where you're saying, because they can't physically see it, maybe noting it and saying, hey, listen, this is yours. It's not going to go away. Even if he quit, even if he decided to leave, that's still his money. But I'm trying to find a way to bring in Profit First. Obviously, he's not opening bank accounts, that's setting up for profit, or
that's not your responsibility, Jim.
Yeah.
Okay,
That's
so keep my
responsibility. Your
Got it.
responsibility is
yeah,
the
got
business.
it. Okay, so just give him the money and be done with it.
Right.
So monthly it is.
And
Got
that'll
it.
be better for your cash flow too. Like, it's always better to be able to do it in like increments compared to big payouts. It's just going to be better for your cash flow as well. And then you're not having to like protect that money the entire year because it doesn't necessarily even belong to you. So
Yeah.
That would go into another envelope. That goes into a whole nother envelope. So
yeah,
I already thought about
it's
that.
going to be there.
Yeah.
It's going to be there. It's going to be there. You're going to be able to see it. You know, like, it's his. Give it to him. It's his responsibility to manage it.
I get it.
Jordan, do you have a comment or question on this?
Yeah, just for Jim. Jim, I was curious because one of the things you mentioned was that you're concerned about whether or not they would be motivated enough or be able to take on, 3 jobs or another job on top of their workload right now. Are you currently, if the concern is whether or not he can perform consistently, do you have things set up quarterly for training for your PMs or your CMs, or are you doing anything proactively apart from the bonus where you guys are setting them up to be successful and be more productive in their management styles?
For the sales team, yes. The CMs we have not, because it's we had a CM last year. He left. To be completely honest with you, he wasn't equipped to do what we have to do. He can't interface with customers. He couldn't command the subcontractors, and he just was lost. He was young. We're hiring a seasoned guy. Can check all the boxes. From what we see, obviously we haven't ran him out. We're going to run him through a 90-day and review him in 90 days. We brought him in at a lower rate. We explained to him if he can perform what we require, then obviously there's going to be a pay raise at the 90-day mark plus health insurance. But to answer you, I do not have, and that's why I'm here. That's why I joined Redmond, because I'm great at being a visionary. I know how to build companies. But I am not good at stacking all this stuff up. That's why I'm in this meeting right now with you guys, because I completely honest with you, I'm a mess with this part. And so that's great news. And those are questions and things that I'm going to have to implement.
Chris, this is great feedback that you put in the chat. He says his project manager receives 25% of the total labor savings below budgeted labor dollars. He also receives a 50, 100, 150, 250, et cetera, job completion bonus weighted on gross contract price when job ends and final check collected. Incentivizes getting more jobs done. He also gets a 5% bonus of gross sales on all change orders that he receives. And obviously there's going to be a lot of like fine print and caveats to these types of bonuses, but I love doing bonuses for project managers that are more so based on, did you get the job done on time, on budget? Awesome. You get a bonus for that. Did you get the job done under budget and before the deadline? Awesome. You get a bigger bonus for that. You know, were you able to save us money anywhere? You get bonuses for that. I've not thought of the change order idea. Obviously, this would be change orders that are like getting them to commit to doing more on their job or something more expensive, you know, compared to like something unforeseen. But I love the idea of having that type of bonus too. And then review bonuses are great.
That's structured on the sales side though for us. So our sales team does that. CMs don't. The way we're structured, it's a totally different animal. So the sales team, because we're spearheading, you know, affordable kitchens, because the volume base, the ROI on the volume base versus the large jobs, because I came from commercial and it is a nightmare. What one of the other fellows spoke about, you know, you could be making money and then you starve for 6 months. I want cash flow. I want a reoccurring rev gen that's literally a machine that's printing money. And we signed up with Enhancify, one of the guys in here. So we signed up with them. And the reasoning is now we offer 3 different choices. But I get it. I get it. But I run out of ROI when I start handing out cash for everybody gets a piece.
That's something that you and I need to look at, Jim.
Yeah.
That's something to do with your pricing and your cash flow. And as we move to residential, you're going to have more flexibility because we do want to incentivize both the salesperson and the project manager. And so that's something that you and I can absolutely, you know, lead into as we get more familiar with your numbers and your percentages.
Got it.
Something I want to circle back to, just to point out as a positive thing for those that may have gotten lost in the conversation as well, because you talked about some good stuff with your merit-based pay, Jim, is if you have them on a regular salary, making that, you know, a livable but somewhat uncomfortable salary so that the bonuses are not on top of already their main wage, right? You want to incentivize more productivity, not, you know, paying them their full wage plus the bonus and structure incentive. So I think that's really important. And then I also want to echo what Jordan said too. If you want to do more financial kind of awareness training for your guys, I think that's great to do in sort of a meeting setting, that if they want to opt in to some of that, if you feel like you have some good insight on, hey, here's a great way to manage your money and your finances, we want to help, you know, kind of promote and foster your whole life well-being, that spawns a lot of loyalty long-term in your team if they feel like they're being invested in and developed on a personal level as well. But when you try to control that by when you dole out their payments, I think that gets tough. But yeah, putting that into an opportunity for you to circle back around to your team and kind of coach is great. What's up, Jordan?
Hey, there's a friend of mine here in town who runs a pest control company. He requires all of his guys to go through Dave Ramsey. And we laughed when we had the conversation, but he said what it did caused his guys to be more attentive to not only their personal finances, but the finances within the business. And it was a double blessing for him. And it caused, you know, his workers to want to stay there for a long term because of that personal investment that my friend of the owner was putting into the company. It was a great position for him to put in, but they just implemented that like once a month meeting. They get together and they go through the book, or they go through the program. So not that it has to be Dave Ramsey, but he just really liked the benefit that it had in his company, and he was raving about it.
I love that, Jordan. And that's something at Rapid Growth. We read books together. Every once in a while, they'll buy our books or buy us all books. And then we have a different meeting outside of our normal meetings that we meet and we kind of review the chapters. Profit First would be a great one to give your team and to say, hey, we're going to read this together. It's something I'm implementing for the business, but Profit First is absolutely something that you could implement in your personal life. In fact, it's something that I do in my personal life. It's very similar to the Dave Ramsey method, where you're distributing your income into certain accounts and you know that that's the amount of money you have to spend on those expenses. So that would be a great. Yeah, it looks like Maria that you were able to read Profit First after Riley, your boss did. And so love that. We've got a couple minutes left here today. Any questions we want to pack?
Dale.
Love that, Dale. Any other questions? Wins? Awesome. Okay, guys.
I just had one question.
Yes,
If there are any other Minnesota, Wisconsin companies in here, is anybody else seeing? It's just been a lot harder this winter to sign jobs. Jobs are fewer and further between. We've talked to a few other contractors. One's a similar to us, just doesn't cover as much, more just roofing. They're really struggling. We've got guys, framers, we've got guys that focus on interior. We're just hearing overall really slow this year compared to other years. Wondering if anybody else is experiencing that. Having harder times signing remodels.
We have. We've had that was the epiphany, and that's why we developed these programs. And so again, we ran it through ChatGPT and DeepSeek to run the algorithm and see what the mode is. So in trading, the mode is if you're close to me, if you're even in one of my competitors. So we ran it, and by pushing down the pricing on the remodeling, I don't know what kind of remodeling you do. We're able to push in Chicago. Our price for these bathrooms and kitchens are ungodly affordable. And when we roll them out, I mean, we signed 4 of them already this week, and it was like super easy. I sent my guy out yesterday to a project to meet. He sold a sunroom that came with the kitchen. So and because it's affordable, I have to go back to the financing. I was with 2 other companies that were garbage because the merchant accounts are so expensive. The fee that we pay, and we just signed with Enhancify. I'm like super giddy, like a schoolgirl at a cheerleading contest. I mean, I'm super happy because now I'm not paying the VIG that's so high, and it eats into my profit with this Enhancify. As soon as you tell somebody, I went to a meeting on Tuesday and told them I could finance you at a 550 score. It won't be a great rate, but if you have a 750, I don't know if you do financing, Luke, but all I could tell you in the market, because I'm still a trader, the market I know it's a flat to downward trend because of 10-year yield. We know that. So as an investor, I understand that. So that's why I built these programs, because I know I have to attract to a larger type of clientele, which is people that can't afford for a lot of items. They just don't have the cash.
Yeah.
So that's good.
I know I have personally, for my client count, I think I have like 5 or 6 clients in Minnesota specifically. Got a lot of Minnesotans for some reason. And I wouldn't say like it's your specific area, Luke, if that's what you're feeling. If you're just like, like my area is like not, like people are just not spending. Because I know that I have a lot of clients who are like specifically, I've got like a tile company that mostly does like high-end luxury tile. Like it's not cheap stuff. And then I've got a custom cabinet shop who's also, custom cabinets, not the box cabinets, so it's high-end stuff. And they're both staying really busy. What I have heard across the board, and it seems to have gotten a little bit better after we got through the election and the holidays, is just it's a little bit harder to close deals right now. People are a little bit worried with the economy and holidays and all that stuff. I think we'll see that get better, fingers crossed here as we get closer to summer and things kind of settle. But I do love Jim's advice where we can't control what the economy is or people being nervous. What we can control is our sales process. So offering financing is huge. Enhancify is one that a lot of our clients use.
We're talking about switching to them, actually.
Yeah.
We were talking about it again last night.
Yep. I think you'll have a good experience with them. Like Jim said, you have a very good chance of getting approved through them. And then being able to offer, which we heard this towards the beginning of the call, good, better, best options. It doesn't mean that you have to have 3 different estimates, but the more that the client feels like they are in control, that they know that they can customize things, they're not cornholed into this price. You know, maybe we can't do all of it, but we can do blank, blank, blank.
Yeah.
That's really going to help. And then just make sure we are following up. It takes following up with people multiple times before you get that yes or no, more so now than ever. So just make sure you got a good system to follow up after you've given that estimate.
Nice. One other question with the remodeling, for bringing in, say we're bringing in new salesmen, and it's hard unless you have a current remodeling project going on to really teach that salesman how to sell a remodel, like a kitchen remodel, for example. Just the ins and outs. They're so in depth with what you need to just kind of have that background knowledge on. Are there any training programs you guys would recommend to put a salesman through to just kind of give them that first step? Here's what to look for, because we can only, you know, teach so much in a short amount of time.
Yeah, that's a great question. If other people want to jump in, please do. Because Luke, you and I can talk about this more in our meeting here later. But yeah, usually the sales part is the last thing. Sales and estimating is the last thing that owners tend to get rid of, and as they scale themselves out, right? You buy back each of the former positions you once held as you hire people. We can create some of that sales training, because what I've heard from most people is any sort of a bot sales training program usually doesn't fully align with their desires, but guys will do it because they just don't have the time or capacity. But one resource I would point you towards is utilizing the course portal with Revenue Growth. There are some things you can have at least be a starting point that you know is going to be in line with best practices and in the direction that we're moving together as well, and for yourself. But then, yeah, we can build up that sales process as well, if you're thinking about the sales skills side of things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because we get plenty of you know, the salesmen that we're typically bringing on, because we do push a lot of roofs mostly in our warm months, so they're proficient on that, but or that's easily trainable. But it's just, yeah, Alex and I mostly still handle all the kitchen bathroom stuff, but we're trying to kind of push guys and looking towards new hires moving forward.
Yeah, something that I know Chris Anderson did out in Atlanta is they started doing it slowly with certain types of jobs. Those that were the most easy, most scalable, so decks, gutters, you know, things like that, making sort of a soft, like a spreadsheet to start with. And then as this guy continues to gain experience, he's going to get a better sense of doing that on more involved projects. But that'll come with time as we continue to build this guy up. That's the guy he was talking about earlier. So, all right, guys. Well, we know that you have plenty of things to get to and to do, and so we want to be prompt on when we wrap up as well. But appreciate you guys being here. Thanks for all the questions and the insight and feedback. It's super valuable. We'll end this call the same way we do every time, and if you want to unmute, we'll do growth on 3 and then get off into the rest of the week here. See people unmuting. All right, growth on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Growth.
All right, we appreciate you guys being here.